murder hobo. What is a murder hobo? Where did the term come from? I don't know. I don't know where the term came from, but it is a derogatory term, often a humorous term. It's sometimes applied to what people think is an old style of playing D&D. The idea is that the PCs have no home and they have no stakes in the community and they just wander about, hence the hobo bit, taking everything that isn't nailed down and killing indiscriminately. PCs are just there to be killed. There's the murder bit. The ironic bit is that this is an old school play at all. This is not the way old D&D was played. It was specifically set up that way to not be played like this. Old D&D was very dangerous, and you didn't get any experience points for killing monsters. You got experience points for gold captured, and so it expected the players to be smart and think outside the box and only fight when you had to. So, but nowadays, lots of people are murder hobos. It is definitely a style of play. And Manny, you had a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, I grew up with Murder Hobos my almost my entire early game mastering career. But you know, the people I played with were all like teenagers, and we all lived in the city, and a lot of us had stress. A lot of us had things to deal with. So what better way to vent all that stress is through role playing? And you know, that's not unusual. I sometimes with video games, especially like Grand Theft Auto games like that, when I used to come home from work, I needed something to vent, and those games were perfect for that. If anyone's watching this and is having trouble with murder hobos, I'm assuming some watching this may be having that. I'm assuming it's because you haven't talked to your players. You haven't done a session 0 yet and talked your adventure through. It is a horrible situation where you have a campaign ready and you haven't talked to your players, and all they want to do is burn and destroy everything. Um, Luckily, I knew my players beforehand, and most times it's just we would play a session. I would create a world for them, and they just want to get away with destroying and robbing everything. So I just adapted to that. In the beginning, maybe I did have some storylines planned, but I would save those for more serious players or different adventures. Once in a while, these players, once they vented out their frustrations, they do eventually want to play something more serious. I have noticed that. It's something that maybe they've seen on TV or something they watch in the movies or anything, or like Conan the Barbarian, Lord of the Rings, anything like that. My number one suggestion is definitely talk to your players. Don't start a serious game or any game without finding out what are they looking for. Are they looking for something serious, like Monty Python? Maybe just again looting and destroying everything, and then see if that you're okay with that. I was totally okay with that. I had a lot of fun. Improving. It taught me how to improv, how to deal with all sorts of different situations I wasn't prepared for. You know, they go to a magic store and want to buy something, and then they realize, wait a second, what's the level of that shopkeeper?
Oh
is,
no!
is there anyone around? And then suddenly a fight breaks out, and things happen. You know, you kind of learn like, okay, how do I adapt to this? How do I make it challenging so that they just stop destroying everything and then feel like this is like an easy mode video game type of thing. I would make it maybe the shopkeeper is actually a dragon. Uh-oh, what did you do now? So that's what that's I am totally okay with Murderhobos campaigns as long as the players and I discuss it beforehand, and that gives me sort of a chance to sort of prepare, if that makes sense, because you can't really prepare for a Murderhobos campaign. Anything can happen. To me, it's a good muscle for brain muscle for improving and learning to deal with new encounters and situations.
So Seth, um, you've played a lot. You've played at tables with murder hobos. You've also seen it in a lot of computer games, right? A lot of
Well,
computer games.
one of the things I was going to say is a lot of the earlier computer games never really touched this or never really touched on consequences because yes, you just go out, they were just made to go out and kill everything and grab anything that's not nailed down. It wasn't really till the rise of Ultima 4 I think in the early 80s, where they actually had consequences. Where you were in a town, they had guards. And because before then, you just go in anybody's house, ransack them, take anything valuable. There, if you tried to do that, A, the person wouldn't talk to you anymore. And B, as soon as you came outside, there'd be guards wandering around and they go to kill you or put you in jail. So it wasn't really until the rise of that we started to get consequences and try to not really tamp down murder hobos, but to make more authentic, meaning you have consequences for your actions. So you think about it a bit more rather than just blow everything up.
Sure.
I'm sorry to jump in. You know, a lot of new players, and I've noticed this not just from back in the day, even at PAX East. When I played with new players from PAX East, and all the experience beforehand was just video games, I've noticed that the actions of a murder hobo come and play, because that's what they see in video games. Video games, I do it too. I'll play any RPG or action game, and I always look for a way to break the code, way to do something, and so that I could gain the most points or items or whatever I need. I've noticed that if new players come in and they have that, I don't fight that either. I just like, this is a good way to experience a different game. Role playing, especially in the beginning, in the old days, was very hard to describe to other people, especially new players. Either they understand acting or they understand, playing a video game and hacking and slashing, or some sort of board game like that. But it's just something I think new players want to do in the beginning.
Sure. What about you, Seth? Do you like murder hoboing?
Well, it does have its uses if, as Manny was saying earlier, if everybody's in that mindset. There's nothing worse than having everybody trying to do a serious game and one person being the murder hobo and ruining it for everybody else.
Yeah.
So you all have to be on board, either all doing murder hobo, and as Manuel said, the DM's okay with this, or not. You can't really do a mix, because then your campaign won't go anywhere.
No, I think you're right. So let's talk about ways to stop it. Because we've already said, talk about it ahead of time, and if everybody's good with it, go for it. But what if it's a problem? What if there some of the characters are doing it, and some of the characters aren't? How can you discourage that? I think there are several ways to do it. One Seth touched on would be consequences, right? If they kill the shopkeeper, word gets out, they're murderers. That's bad. They killed the shopkeeper. Another is to look at how this came about. I think it might have been an unintended consequence of the shift of experience points. Like I said before, experience points in old D&D, in the earlier editions, were given for gold captured. So this was all about exploration. The idea was you go into the dungeon and you manage to grab some treasure and get out. And that's what, that's where your experience came from. That's how you got better at it. Well, somewhere along the line, second edition, somewhere around there, they started giving out experience points for killing monsters. It was right there on the end of the monsters, stat block. How many experience points are you worth for killing? Well, players, whether they realize it or not, will learn to do things they're rewarded for. If they're rewarded for killing for something, they will kill things. And that's also how you get a lot of just fights to the death, where with both sides just stand there and hit each other until somebody dies, because they're not getting experience points for running away or for even winning the combat. They're getting experience points for killing the creature. So they get experience points for murder.
You don't want it. You don't. Sorry, just to jump in. You don't want it just for gold either, especially in like an urban or city setting, because then the murder hobos will just ransack everybody looking for spare gold.
Right.
I do like on some of the ones systems, they would reward experience for solving a mystery or story related stuff.
There are lots of different ways to award experience points, and I would like to do a whole video on that. Basically boils down to reward the type of thing you want to see in your game. So I think that's a really good fix for murder hobos, would be kind of tweaking the experience that you give out. Another fix, particularly something that they tried in old D&D, was the alignment system, right? You said, well, that's against your alignment. And old D&D alignment used to be a lot more punitive than it is now. Nowadays, if you're a paladin, you'll get in trouble, but you're a fighter, no one really cares, But in the old days, if you broke your alignment, the DM will say, okay, the gods are coming down on you, and you've lost a level. You would lose levels for alignment infractions. So, that's another way you could do it.
One of the ways, not to go back to an old video game, but in Ultima 4, which was another reason why it was a breakthrough at the time, is that you as a player character were supposed to be the embodiment of a bunch of virtues: valor, justice, honesty. And the game was made that you had to do these virtues. Valor, you couldn't run away from a fight. Justice, if you were fighting a non-evil animal and they started to run away, you had to let them run away. In the background, each of them had a score, and as you did certain things, you didn't lie and stuff, the score would go up, and you were supposed to presenting yourself as this paragon of virtue.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the guy who made it, Richard Garriott, called it ethical hedonism. But anyway, that's another thing.
Yeah,
try to discourage murder hobo.
Right. That's being a little more strict on alignment. So that's
Yes.
one way you could. That's one way you can handle it. So consequences, alignment, experience, the way you're giving it out, and as Emmanuel said, a session 0. Really talk about it ahead of time, because a lot of us want to play heroic games, and evil characters, murder hobos, are just not heroic. And the last thing I have to say about it is that you don't have to play with murder hobos. If you might want to leave the game, even if you're the GM. Sometimes there's an expectation that it's all about making the players happy. Well, you're a player too. You're playing the game, so you don't have to run a game for a bunch of murder hobos. If they just keep trashing your world and killing everything, and you're not having any fun, tell them that, and maybe try to gently encourage them to stop. But maybe you will just have to part ways.
One last thing. Another idea might be to change role-playing systems, because it is easy with D&D. The allure of murder hoboism, the allure is there. Like even with serious players, if you see a monster that has that's worth a lot of experience points, you're kind of thinking, wait, if we take this out, we could gain a level. That might not be murder hobo per se, but it's the same idea of like destroying something and gaining something out of it. So like anything like the Year Zero engine from like Vaesen, or what's another good one? Some of the other that doesn't use experience points as a way of gaining levels. Those type of systems might be better.
Yeah, the storyteller system doesn't really. I mean, they have experience, but you only get like 2 a session or something.
And Call of Cthulhu, you get experience for using your skills and things. So yeah. And you could try using the carrot instead of just the stick. Try to involve them, make the PCs nicer. Try to trick them into caring about the children instead of killing them. Play on their sympathies. See if they've got a great humanity left in them.
Doing what you said before, make them have a stake in wherever they are in the community.
Yeah.
I had a weird session once where at the bad guy at the end had like a baby dragon as its pet, to help it do its evil
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And when they were about to fight it, I revealed that the animal, the dragon, was abused and forced to fight for the master. And once I revealed that, it totally changed their momentum a little bit. Like they were like, "Oh, let's destroy the baby dragon and destroy the bad guy." But like, whoa, let's try to free the baby dragon instead, and
Nice.
and
Yeah.
and stop the bad guy. Maybe even turn the baby dragon against its master. That was a very interesting scenario. That, like you said, by maybe like making the characters care a little bit
Mm,
might
mm.
change their murderous ways, maybe just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a
Give them more, right? Give them more options. Like killing everything. Okay, that is an outcome. But right, figuring out why the monster is doing this, why it's there. Go a little deeper and have another option for people who want to delve more and not just run in and kill stuff.
Okay, well, there you go. Things to do besides stealing and murdering in role-playing games. Well, thanks for joining us. If you like this sort of stuff, like and subscribe, and we'll do it again. So till next time, see you later.